Hello, I'm David Breeden. I'm the senior minister at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, a historically humanist congregation. And this is Coffee and Wisdom, when we take a humanist perspective on theological questions and have a little bit of coffee to reflect on some new and old ideas. Last couple of weeks, I've been talking about a very important concept that comes in from the early 20th century, but there are still conferences and books about it today. And that's from Max Weber. He said this: the fate of our times is characterized by rationalization and intellectualization, and above all, by the disenchantment of the world. Disenchantment of the world. It does have the word in German, magic, in it. And this appeared first in a paper in 1919. And it did indeed catch the imagination of quite a few sociologists and uh, theologians and liberal religious thinkers of the day. So not only we talk a lot about the idea of disenchantment, but also rationalization and intellectualization. So in other words, that science would slowly permeate the Western mind and kind of get a start washing away the foundations of Christianity slowly but surely. Now, one of the people who was listening to that paper in 1919 was Max Weber's professor, Ernst Troeltsch, 1865 to 1923, who was a liberal Christian theologian, very important in his day. At the end of that conference, he's reported to have said, "Gentlemen," because, yeah, okay, most of the theologians and sociologists were men in those days. "Gentlemen, everything is tottering. Gentlemen, everything is tottering." This was his conclusion from listening to that particular paper. He was really seeing the foundations of Christianity being washed away. So, one question is foundational here. What is a theistic worldview? Troeltsch was clearly thinking about Christendom, Western Europe, and its Christian foundation. But in more in general, what is a theistic worldview and what does it mean? I think is a very good question to ask, especially for we humanists who have maybe a considerably more complex idea of what theism and religions mean. Is theistic, though, necessarily supernatural? And this is a central question. Professor Troeltsch clearly thought, yes, supernatural had to be part of the thinking, or Christianity was doomed in Europe. Well, Ludwig Wittgenstein criticized this idea in general. If you've been listening to Coffee and Wisdom quite a bit, or yeah, you can do a search on it. I've talked quite a bit about a book called The Golden Bough: The Roots of Religion and Folklore by James G. Frazier. This was a late 19th and early 20th century study of religion that was foundational in the understanding of religion, not as religion, but as a philosophical and a sociological phenomenon. Sir James Frazier said this: by religion, then, I understand a propitiation or conciliation of powers superior to man, which are believed to direct and control the course of nature and of human life. All right. Now he's been clear about how he is defining religion. By religion, then, I understand a propitiation or conciliation of powers superior to man. So it is some kind of work to affect the way things are going, praying for rain and that kind of thing. He goes on to say, from the earliest times, man has been engaged in a search for general rules whereby to turn the order of natural phenomena to his own advantage. And in the long search, he has scraped together a great hoard of such maxims, some of them golden and some of them mere dross. The true or golden rules constitute the body of applied science, which we call the arts, and false are magic. So you see how he's building this then. Religion is about controlling the what happens next. And then some of these things have worked and they have gone into the applied science category. Some of them haven't worked, and those go into the magic category. And that's the way Sir James Frazer is drawing these lines, and a lot of people agreed with him at that time. Wittgenstein criticized Frazer because of his instrumentalist view of religion. Instrumentalist is to say that Frazer presented religions as primitive science. He thought that the myths and rituals were all about controlling nature, propitiating nature, and getting what happens next into some kind of control. That's instrumentalism in the theological world. To Wittgenstein, this is the wrong language game in which to classify religious thinking. Again, we've talked quite a bit about Wittgenstein through the course of Coffee and Wisdom. He's very important in understanding not only religion, but also philosophy in the late 20th century and into our own time. But Wittgenstein says everything is a language game. Yes, soccer is a language game because it has rules that we talk about in language. Religion is a language game because it has words that use things that create religion. And on, politics, law, and et cetera. They're all language games that have rules within them on how we use words and what words we use. So Wittgenstein is saying, Sir James, you're just wrong about that. That's not why people do religion. You're referring to the wrong language game. Wittgenstein has this to say: if you and I are to live religious lives, it mustn't be that we talk a lot about religion, but that our manner of life is different. It is my belief that only if you try to be helpful to other people will you, in the end, find your way to God. And yes, Wittgenstein uses the term God in German, but he definitely has a very different idea about what theism means from the ancient foundations of the Western world. Another person who talks very much in this Wittgensteinian way is Rowan Williams, the former Archbishop of Canterbury. He was the Archbishop of Canterbury, the leader of the Anglican world from 2002 to 2012. He wrote a great book, I think, called The Edge of Words, God and the Habits of Language, in which he proposes that God is perhaps the information of the universe. Now here, this is a guy who is the leader of the Anglican Christian tradition, being very clear about, this old way of looking at theism, this old way of talking about Christianity and God, that really doesn't work for us anymore. He's accepting Max Weber's point from that point of view, but yet there's still this language game over here that is important. And God then becomes the information of the universe, which we can study in physics, astrophysics, mathematics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and in the arts, according to him. So that's the way he's redefining. So Max Weber and certainly Ernst Troeltsch didn't think a religion could be revived in that way, but indeed it has, although in Europe, in the places that they were considering, certainly most people now think they are not, or say they are not religious, certainly not in a traditional way. But what is a theistic worldview? Well, the answer is there are a whole bunch of them, and that's one of the problems with summarizing this kind of thing. And Wittgenstein will be looking over your shoulder saying, wait a minute, I think you're talking about the wrong language game a lot of times when we refer to Christianity and those ideas. And we'll talk some more about that on Thursday. A big thank you for financial support to Anita Martinez, Marcy Lessler, and Rin Nippling. Thanks so much for supporting us. I'll see you on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. And we will have a live chat on Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you'd like the Zoom link for that, just email me, minister@firstunitarian.org. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you on Thursday.